And welcome to IMC Unit 2, Unit 4 of Block 2, uh, Advertising Campaign Planning Creative Considerations. In yesterday's class, we discussed advertising campaign planning, steps for successful planning, the strategic considerations in advertising, and their role in the scheme of campaign. Also, we discussed the various types of advertising campaigns. Let us see today what makes these campaigns interesting. So we today will discuss the creative considerations that play a key role in the success of the advertising campaign, various advertising appeals, and the use of creativity in ad campaigns and other areas. Now, what type of ads impress you the most? Informative, persuasive, emotional, humorous, or fear related, or you like ads which have got a essence of social causes, right? And they persuade you to follow a certain action or behavior. Okay. Now, when it comes to a range of different types of advertisements, uh, we get impressed by several of them, we remember several of them, even the products and services which we do not buy or avail or use, we still remember certain advertisement because of that impression they have built in our minds. Now, anything that can entice you, that can attract you, that can keep you bound to a concept or a product or a brand name, well, the advertisement is said to be very successful. So, what is meant by advertising creativity? Before we understand this, let us understand the creativity types. Usually, we've been seeing enormous number of advertisements, and they range from all kinds of products and services. So when a new product or a new brand wants to introduce itself to the market, it may use a concept which is quite similar to some old advertisements, or may come up with some new way of presentation. Now, they may also combine a couple of ideas and put up a new perspective into play and bring their product to the world. Now, this using of older ideas and bringing them as a combination and creating a new add altogether is what we call combinational creativity. Now, how do you do this? You collect some impressive ads, and then the ideas you think for this product and your target audience, this idea would work, but then you do not want to copy as it is. So you collect a group of ideas, and then you incubate in your brain. You let them ring again and again, let them play again and again in your mind, and then these ads are in your mind, and now you need to seek the trigger. Now, trigger in the sense a trigger event that you want to create the advertisement for. And then the next step is to engage yourself into some kind of a refreshing activity. What I do usually is whenever there is a requirement of a new idea to crop in or to be created, I do not get a clue. I feed all those points that are there. I put them in a paper and then feed it into my brain and leave it in my subconscious and then go for a walk. By the time I complete a stretch of 3 kilometers and way back another 3 kilometers, I am sure to get one idea. Now, this is how the subconscious mind works. So, the combinational creativity is all about working with certain successful ideas and you bring up something new. Other than this, if you want to come up with something very creative, new to the world kind of a thing, so you need to go for explorative creativity, wherein you will be exploring something what you do not know either. So you need to experiment with without knowing the outcomes, and a level of curiosity will make you work in your subconscious mind to come up with a new generative idea, and this could be a new to the world idea. So that is explorative, which doesn't exist prior to that time. The third is your transformational creativity, which begins by changing rules of the game. In the sense, a certain rule you ignore, whatever rules or restrictions you have for a certain thought to be created, you believe that this restriction or limitation doesn't exist, that rule doesn't exist, and can you come up with the ideas which will work out to give you certain results? Well, now this is what is called transformational creativity. Well, that's about creativity, and let us see like how advertising campaigns are created with creativity. In the year 1984, it was time for the Super Bowl 27 to take place. That was the time when people usually get glued to, broadcast media. Well, at this time, the only PC provider, personal computers provider was IBM, and IBM was ruling. At this time, Apple computers brought a personal computer which was much more user friendly. And how did they want to introduce this to the market? So in the year 1984, when Apple introduced Macintosh to disrupt its market, which is ruled by IBM, they came up with one of the greatest TV commercials of all times. But I tell you, this commercial was broadcasted only once, one single broadcast. Now, how was this particular um, television advertisement? Uh, in a backdrop of black totalitarian world, it's a black totalitarian world with zombie-like characters, zombie-like people are seated watching on a huge screen, a very giant screen featuring a George Orwell kind of a influencer, you can say, Big Brother, right? Spewing relentless cant of how information purification can be done, right? So it's a dull black world, and at that moment, what we see is an athletic lady, the only colored image in the entire frame. Uh, Suddenly, a lone female athlete, runs with a sledgehammer and hurls that hammer onto that big screen, breaking it, and the big brother image is not to be seen anymore. And at that time, the flashes this tagline: on January 24th, Apple computers will introduce Macintosh, and you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984. Okay, now why was this kind of a ad created? So, what is it that they are trying to communicate? Let us say this. Let us understand the market background once again. IBM dominated the personal computer market. Advertising was mostly rational, specs heavy, and technical because they are selling a technically sound product. Consumers saw computers as a complex and corporate product. Okay. Now, with this background, let us see what Apple's goal is and how Apple approached it. Apple positioned Mac as a user-friendly, and that was the time they brought this Mac with a GUI feature. They introduced GUI, in fact, so it was more user-friendly and liberating. Okay. And they created an emotional brand identity. The detachment and the courage to venture into a new product, use, owning and using it is what they wanted people to, take an action. Okay. So, what is the visual metaphor? Now, here we see the George Orwell kind of a big brother in the backdrop, uh, an apple, the athlete running and with a sledgehammer and breaking that is a lone rebel, the agent of change. Okay, so Ridley Scott, the director of this advertisement, uh, on the 22nd of January 1984, aired this advertisement only once. And the creative strategy he vouched on is the dystopian imagery. Industry was dull, oppressive, and impersonal. Whatever product they brought in, the target customer had no choice but to take that product, and it was kind of a futuristic presence there now. And this heroine with a hammer is the bold Apple personal computer seeker. She's got an expectation that how should personal computer should be, and she wanted to break those silos of the then existing IBM's um, technically sound and less user friendly product. So she's going to come up and introduce this, right? So the tagline which says, "You will see why 1984 won't be like 1984 anymore," right? Now this is a promise of a revolution. They are the revolution that is brought into the personal computer industry. So the marketing impact that was generated or created by this advertisement, like it was aired only once and made global waves. People were highly impressed, and an inquisitiveness developed. People got more aware of it through the word of mouth. Now, they reframed computers as a personal device and also differentiated in the then saturated market. Differentiation in the then saturated market of IBM machines is something what we refer today as a blue ocean strategy. Okay. So let us see how ad agencies and clients work together to develop effective advertising campaigns. Now, advertising is effective if it extends from a sound marketing strategy, sound marketing strategy in the sense like we discussed yesterday, the vision, the business strategy, the brand strategy, and the marketing goal, right? So this is how there has to be a single voice, right, or unity in their approach to the product that matches the beliefs of the organization. uh, Advertising is effective if it takes the consumer's view. We were always talking about the consumer viewpoint or the target audience's desires, perspectives, interests, and needs, right? And these need to be met because the consumer undergoes a set of steps in order to make a brand decision. So we need to understand the consumer pretty well. Advertising is effective if it finds a unique way to break the clutter, the break through the clutter. In the sense, the market it may be flooded with several options, and if you want your product to be the final choice of the target customer, then you need to bring in uniqueness in your product, and it is the advertising strategies duty. I mean, to make it that effective. Advertising is effective if it never promises more than it can serve. It shouldn't be, biased. It should be concrete, and it should not be promising beyond what it can actually deliver. It prevents the creative idea from overwhelming the strategy. So we need to ensure that the creativity is communicated and it reaches the target audience properly. So creativity in advertising is the use of imagination or original ideas to create something appealing to the end user or the customers or the masses. Now, this can be possible, and we say like the advertising creativity will be effective if it can have this can elements, can elements, that stands for concreteness, right? And connectedness. Okay, it stands for the connectedness, and A stands for the appropriateness, and N stands for novelty. Now, what is it talking about? Connectedness is actually what the ad reflects, and the ad should be communicating to the target customer in an empathetic way, right? The product, how it would be useful to the end user. It needs to create a bond. So the connectedness will develop only if the customer can connect with the product and its use and its benefit. It has to be relevant to the audience's needs, interests, preferences. Only then they would connect it and prefer the product. It has to be in the brand choice decision. Okay, so the audience need to connect to the product and the brand. So if the advertisement creativity includes the connectedness in its message, then this works very effectively. We say like the advertisement has to be very appropriate. That means it provides the right information to the target audience in delivering the brand's positioning strategy. How is it useful? When is it useful? Right? And it captures the brand's relative strength and weakness while communicating to the customer about the product. At the same time, the ad should also talk about the competitive advantage that it provides through this product or service. Now, um, besides this, we must we must also consider and remember the sticky ads. Well, when we say sticky ads, we're not precisely talking about those ads that linger on your screen while you are watching some other content. Those pop-up windows that talk about products and services or features or brand launches which remain on the screen and you cannot remove them. Not those sticky ads. Actually, we are talking about the sticky marketing, any interaction that encourages a target audience or a prospect or a customer to stick around and gather more information, interact with with the provider. Okay, is where we say like we call these ads as sticky ads, which will encourage interaction and then allows to clarify the doubts of the customer through the engagements, or the engagement gives them conviction about their brand choice or the service choice. So, sticky ads must be very simple. They must have some simplicity in their message and their presentation, so that the message it must be simple and profound. Simple to be understood immediately, profound to remember the message. Okay. Uh, Sticky ads also work on the concept of unexpectedness. Now, whenever there is unexpectedness or developing certain curiosity, customers will engage further to find out about the product, and this is how it works. Uh, Geico ads are those insurance providers advertisements which engage the customer for a fraction of time and very convincing. You are always eager to see like what's happening next. You can watch those Geico advertisements in the YouTube. Next is the advertisement. Sticky ads must be concrete. They must be giving you that precise information, and give that conviction. Like if I say a certain truck is very sturdy, you may not really believe it. But if I show you a visual, that's the truck pretty well loaded to its capacity and is traversing a elevated upland, or say is moving downhill in a very stable manner, that would be more convincing rather than the words. So the images that you are showing have to be concrete to make the audience believe what you are trying to communicate. Sticky ads must also have the credibility. Now, let's take the example of this 1960s Crest campaign, wherein they talked about the American Dental Association's. I mean, they had this American Dental Association seal on the ad, approving that Crest toothpaste is highly recommended and is certified. So that kind of a credibility also works. This is where the audience will stick on to the advertisement. Otherwise, the audience may disbelieve and will ignore the ad. So to make these audiences stay along, gather more information, show that conviction and that intention to purchase, we need to come up with very creative ways. And finally, we talk about emotionality. Many of you must have come across those wonderful ads of avian water, right? Avian, those babies dancing, skating, right? So that baby me, that means when you drink avian water, you would be young and lively. So this is what they wanted to convey, and to depict this liveliness with that mineral water. Now, what they showed is people having their reflection on a shop window pane, depicting their version of a baby. I mean, their baby version, right? So that's a pretty impressive way of communicating how this will enhance your liveliness. Okay, so the tagline goes something like this: live pure and live young, something like that. Sorry, I don't remember it very clearly though. Okay. Now the ads have to bring up creativity, and we can have a sticky ad if we have storytelling as a concept. Now, with plots, characters, and messages that actually reflect the target audience's lifestyle or interests and preferences, it would be very touchy, and they would be enticed into exploring the product further and well. uh, by then they would understand what the product promises, the brand promise, and would be convinced to go for a purchase. So we are actually we are trying to convert a prospect to a buyer or a buyer to a repeat purchaser through these advertisements, and this is basically the work of creativity. Okay. Uh, I had come across one such ad by UPS. One of the UPS drivers comes across a certain colony where a small child comes out every single day. The UPS truck passes by their house. UPS driver was so intrigued by the child's interest, and he explored and understood through the parents and the child that the child is fascinated by this truck, and every day would come out to greet the driver. What UPS did one day is they brought a small replica truck and loaded some of those parcels, made this little child drive with a map to deliver some of those parcels loaded onto his toy truck, and he goes along with this big truck uh, and delivers the products himself. For the child, it's a lifetime experience. Now, UPS's tagline here is "Your Wishes Delivered, Driver for a Day." So this little child was a driver for one day, and the wishes were delivered. Now look at the way something which UPS has been doing, and how they depicted the scene through a small storytelling act. Okay. Now let us see the benefits of advertising campaign planning. Now, advertising campaign planning, benefits of creativity in advertising benefit planning. The creativity adds a personal touch to the advertisements. Now, the right use of color, theme, fonts, the images, the words in the message, the playback music, or say the jingle, or the words expressing, or the speech, all these are coined in order to reflect the target audience's lifestyle or preferences or interests. So they're trying to give it a personal touch. So creativity dons that personal touch to the brand, thereby developing a brand personality. So creativity dresses up the personality of the brand, and any brand that has a personality which resonates with that of the target audience's personality will obviously be preferred. So this is only done by creative messages and creativity infused into advertising. Next, uh, creativity ensures brand recognition. How does it do? Creativity ensures brand recognition through the themes, the appeals, the message. Now, put together, they would translate the value that will deliver to the end user or the prospect of the consumer. Now, the consumer resonates with the ads if it relates to their own interests, preferences, choices, needs. Okay. Now, so the brand is actually delivering a value. So the brand value. So creativity helps the advertisers to communicate the brand value that it can deliver. Okay. Now, creative advertisements become storytelling. We just talked about the UPS approach towards their customer and the kind of empathy they showed in their delivery and the passion with which they deliver. Now, creativity is equal to storytelling. So it focuses basically on the emotional impact. And what does this emotional impact do? Obviously, it's going to build that human connection. And this human connection is what we call the brand resonance. Okay. So while we just discussed about the personal touch that the advertisements bring in through the creativity, and here we talk about how this creative advertisement strategy is resonating through its brand value and the brand personality. Uh, People are more likely to resonate with the brand. They can relate it to them, to their lifestyle as well. And what we see next is how creativity can benefit advertising campaign planning is it ensures engagement of the target audience and the general public. How does it do it? What is expected from the audience? Purchase, engagement, inquiry, uh, that process of believing or conviction they derive through the engagement, and finally the decision to own it or purchase it, or sometimes to clarify the doubts they would like to discuss, maybe through the chatbots or any other medium where they can interact with the uh, people of the company. And also like in some places where there is personal selling, they may be also engaged by trials. Okay. um, well, you must have come across several such instances where in a mall there will be a new cooking device, maybe an oven or say a hot pan, where they are they are the group of people who are cooking on the spot and serving you, right? So that is trial. Okay. So creativity helps bring that kind of an engagement to the target audience and brings that conviction. Now let us see what are the various elements of creativity in the advertising campaign. The first and foremost is theme. Now, when we say theme, there are several different types of themes designed to connect to the target audience. What are they? Like sensibility. It can be like emotion. It can be like a comfort that the audience is looking for. It can be love they are looking for. It can be the appearances, look, and beauty that the audience is seeking. So you may take about any of these themes, or you may even take some social and family values and create a story based on this theme. Or you may even consider pride and prestige, or you can even consider patriotism as a theme. Well, we'll be talking about several of these examples as we understand these concepts. Elements of creativity, the first being theme and the second being the message. And what do we have it in message? The words. And again, when it comes to the words, the fonts, the color, they all matter a lot. And the words and the intention they are trying, or the value they are trying to deliver through the product or services. And this message needs to communicate the goal of the brand or the service or product provider, the marketer. Spreading awareness, or they want the consumer to engage in an interaction leading to a purchase, or it can be like the message can prompt for further sales or increase in sales, or it can be attracting new customer, or it can be the message can be informing the target audience about a new outlet where they can buy the product. Okay. And when we talk about message, we also need to put in creativity into the tagline, designing, um, designing the part of the message in a right frame, and uh, creating a tagline that the customer has a lingering recall of it. Okay, so theme, message. And now we talk about the appeal. Now, what kind of an appeal should be worked upon? The different types of appeals that the advertisements are working on. Advertisement basically being a communication. And when we talk about a communication, we talk about the ethos, pathos, and logos. Now, the ethos or the credibility that the ad message is communicating, or pathos or the emotional relatability to the product and the user, and logos, the logical argument or the message that we are trying to communicate. So the ad must have that credibility, the emotion attached to the brand or the product, and the message. So uh, when we have this appeal in the advertisement, and how do we create any of these appeals, and what are those appeals? The appeals can be musical, right? If you remember the Pond's uh, cream, I mean the cold cream of Pond's, which has got a tagline and a jingle, googly woogly whoosh, right? Uh, the protagonist there is cuddled by the other person, uh, making, feeling the softness of the cheeks with a jingle, googly woogly woogs. Now, that's pretty musical. Well, there are several of those advertisements which you recall, and where you are impressed by that jingle, and this makes you remember the product when you are actually shopping or marketing. Humor can be an appeal. You remember all those Fevicol ads? They had the storyline in a very humorous way. Or you remember that Happy Dent chewing gum, uh, uh, where the showing of the teeth brightens that otherwise dark space, in several instances. That's been pretty well depicted through those humorous advertisements. It can be also emotional appeal, like Vicks Vapor Rub, that touch of care. I still sometimes become so very nostalgic. I wish my mom's had my mom's palm was on my back, giving me that comfort whenever I feel sick. Okay, so that is what the Vicks VapoRub's impact is. Long after the VapoRub is applied, you still feel that warmth of the touch and the care your parent or the well-wisher takes, and that's the emotional appeal and how it works. It can be a rational appeal as well. You must have come across the Surf Excel advertisement where talks about Dag Achhe Hain. I mean, you need not step aside or step away from something which would dirty your costume. You need to step forward, get it dirty, no worries. You can always clean as long as Surf Excel is there. So, daag achhe hain, right? So, and finally, it can be also a sexual appeal. If time permits, I would discuss more in detail about the sexual appeal or the fear appeal by the end of this class. So, sexual appeal is one more. Okay. Besides the theme, the message, and appeal, the elements that bring in creativity or to advertising campaign are the people. Well, you may now question, when we say advertisements are non-personal, why do we have to talk about people? You have to talk about those masses, the demographics of those masses. You need to understand so that you bring the right appeal with the right theme and the message to these people. So understanding people is pretty important here, so that you can use it in a very constructive way while designing your plot for the product or in the storytelling, right? Appeal must actually connect it to the people. So you need to understand who the people are, who your target audience is, uh, and you need to have a focus on the target customer. You need to have a focus on the efficient use of the marketing tools and the platforms, so that you can communicate it to the right customer at the right time through the right channel, and at the right advertising budget, right? Otherwise, well, it may affect on the return on investment. So you need to focus on your advertising budget as well. You need to focus on the sync between the promotional tools, the promotional message. Like I said, the right channel also has to be taken care of. And this can be done when you understand your target audience. The target audience, if you remember, we try to understand the target audience through segmenting, targeting, and positioning. So your focus from the marketing aspects of the advertising budget, the positioning and the promotional message creation, and the target audience must not be wavered. Okay. Then comes the tool that you are using. By tool, we mean the various promotional tools that we are using, like we use the coupons, the offers, the schemes, the events. We use letterheads, we use bags. Well, letterheads, bags, all these can be called as the marketing collaterals. So the tools we are using. So you can even, I mean, you need to consider the right kind of a tool to use, so that your target audience is engaged into that interaction and carries the message in the right spirit to be convinced by the brand promise that your product is delivering. The social media analytics, Canva, then we have the several apps, the SEO, all these technological developments that are bringing us tools need to be considered as well when we are designing the advertisement, when you are creating the advertisement. Well, at last, we also need to remember what we call the time. When do you have to launch the product, or when do you have to launch the campaign? Launching of the campaign depends upon the product life cycle. In what stage of the product life cycle are you bringing up this campaign? Is it awareness in the introductory introductory stage, or increase of sales in the growth stage, or brand recall in the maturity stage? What is it that you are trying to do? The marketing objective must also be in mind, and the timing of the launch has to match the marketing objective, like awareness or repurchase or loyalty. What is it that you are intending? One should also have in mind, when you are launching the advertising campaign, the business environment, what's happening in the market. Is there a change in the product preferences? Is there new technology? And will this product of yours fit into the current environment or is obsolete? You got to know that. And also, like, you need to know if your competitors are taking a certain strategy at that point. So, how do you, I mean, how do you convince your customer that you have a better product to offer, right? And also, like, sometimes the time of the advertising campaign has to fit the customer readiness. Is the customer convinced enough to buy? Like, when we talk about the electric vehicles, well, now is the time. There's so many brands coming up, and it's almost kind of a stable market. So, if you launch a campaign now about your wonderful product, well, that's very impactful. Okay. Uh, we've got 15 more minutes. Let me see if I can take you through a few appeals, advertising appeals, so that you get more clarity about the advertising. I mean, how creativity uh, helps us in bringing up uh, effective advertising. Uh, well, as discussed, like we have a musical appeal, emotional appeal, we have uh, like uh, we have those what do you call it? Rational appeal, right? Emotional appeal again has got a lot of things like humor, fear, uh, anticipation. It can be even sexual appeal. Now, a part of the discussion is also been framed so that it addresses few of your end of the chapter questions. So I guess what I'm discussing now will help you in a couple of questions. Now, the projection of sexual appeal in advertising ranges from, uh, you say, explicitly nude or sensuous content and scenes to uh, more subtle and more subtle sexual innuendos, right? So I would discuss one which has got that extreme explicit nudity in the advertisements and the backlash that comes up. Um, Not every product needs to take sex appeal as the means to bring in some impressive uh, content to the customer. So, uh, some time back, we had this tough shoes advertisement where that was in the 90s, featuring the then beauty pageant Madhu Sapre and Milind Soman. They are supermodels. These two supermodels were framed in nude postures with a python covering their modesty. Now, what is it that the tough shoes wanted to convey, the message they wanted to convey? Uh, the tough shoes had athletic body. Now these two models had perfect um, body structure and fit, and they were healthy, and that's the reason why the advertising strategy ventured into considering their nude revelation as an image on the screen, but very decently, very tactfully. Uh, the python covering their modesty has been depicted in the advertisement. Now, uh, that shows the artistic quality of the product, which is metaphorized by the tact they used by hiding the modesty by a python. Well, though there was a little backlash about the depiction, the product brought in a lot of attention, awareness, and also impacted positively on the marketing, and they had good results. On the other side, as I said, subtle sexual innuendos, we can see the same tough shoes ad where someone is seated on a pedestal, a pillar like structure with a flat top where you either place a statue. Amen. So, someone was seated on this pedestal at a high rise, uh, and his hands wrapping his legs, bent legs at the knees, with his head on the knees and his face turned to his right, which is away from the camera. The body is entirely disrobed except for the tough shoes on. So they gave it a look of a statue. Okay. Now, what is it that they wanted to depict here? The artistic sporting of tough shoes that one would wear on and on and still be comfortable, though every other piece of cloth disrobe is but a subtle sexual innuendo, suggesting the comfort these shoes would provide and you would not take them off. Well, can interpret the message this way. Well, uh, here the backlash wasn't too big because of the way it is depicted, a statue wearing a shoe. Okay, while the statue is disrobed, all it's wearing is a shoe. Well, both these advertisements, though on one side we have explicit nudity and on the other side we have sexual innuendo, both were accepted. There's one such ad by Quality Walls, the Quality Walls Cornetto, which depicted a sensual urge of devouring an ice cream to pleasure up. Well, this is not done. A very distasteful use of sex appeal in this case. No wonder it was hot, but then it melted away the ice cream. I mean to say, it melted away the so desired increase of sale that the company expected and didn't really work out. So you need to be very careful when you are using sexual appeal when you are creating an ad. Uh, well, sex appeal when used aesthetically will give that results. Now, we talk about the good smell and fragrance or odor that brings people closer or distances when there is an unfavorable uh, odor, but, I mean, in the body, right? So there are certain lifestyle products where you can use the sex appeal, explicit or subtle, uh, and are often approved. Uh, uh, Approved as the appeal gets processed at an information level. Like we talk about those eggs effect, the eggs perfume. Now, how it brings people closer. This is the acceptance of each other because of the pleasantness that the perfume has created. The otherwise intimacy would not be preferred. Whereas the good order that this product has brought, the level of comfort to be any intimate, is what the ad is trying to depict. Well, let us also take a look at this. Now, there are certain products where you cannot use sex appeal, like products that are technically sound or requires a lot of technical information, like cars or computers. There you do not have to use sex appeal. Okay, so let's discuss the fear appeal also. Now, an appeal to fear is especially effective as a means of enhancing motivation uh, to seek a product or to accept a product or to repurchase a product. Although there are ethical issues with the use of fear appeal, Marcom communications communicators use the fear appeal, uh, like say suppose the public health officials and other Marcom communicators, they do use the fear appeal with warnings, okay, that tend to identify the negative consequences if the product or service is not availed, like not using the advertised brand. If it is not used, what would happen? The appeal to the consumer's fear may take the form of social disapproval, like bad odor of the mouth. Huh? Uh, there is a if you use this product, you can get rid of the foul smell in your mouth, and you'll feel better. You'll feel more confident. Okay, so the toothpaste that talk about when used will bring you that level of confidence and you can interact with people better. And the non-use of it may let you live with that fear. So this is the fear appeal they're talking about, and also certain physical dangers impending on the individual if they are not possessing this particular product or brand. Now, say about insurances or say like smoke detectors, they all go by the fear appeal. Uh, Sometime back, BMW came up with a print visual. Uh, in the visual, you find 2 feet. One, the normal foot, I mean, the normal leg. The other, uh, a mechanical leg. That means somebody has lost his leg and has replaced with a mechanical leg and foot. Okay. All you see other than these two legs is the logo of BMW and a tagline that says don't drink and drive, and there's a statement. I would like to read it for you. BMW spare parts for humans are not as original as those of cars. Look at the neat way of presenting the message in a theme, and a fear appeal used in this subtle theme. Okay. So audiences perceive self-efficacy in taking the action, can be just as essential. That is, do they perceive that they themselves have the ability to take action? Now, when it comes to products like getting rid of smoking habit, right? So fear appeal is actually trying to convince that you by yourself at your end can help yourself get rid of a habit you otherwise plan to discontinue by using our product. So the anti-smoking advertisement or something which come up with this fear appeal to convey the message and convince the target audience to change a certain behavior. That's for today. There are other appeals discussed in the book. Please go through them. And if you have any question, you can always mail it to me at rajugopalsilla at gmail.com and put your question there. Thank you.